very good morning. You're watching News 9 Live. I'm Sanjay Malhotra. The Mahakumbh has begun with the Shahi Snan this morning in Prayag Raj Sangam. We will bring you brand Mahakumbh and the economics of it with a very special guest joining us today on the show. We have with us Mr. Gopal Krishna Agarwal, BJP's national spokesperson for economic affairs, right here on Morning Brief at 9. Let's bring you all the headlines making news this morning. Let's begin with the Mahakumbh. That's right, the Mahakumbh begins in Prayag Raj as brands make a beeline for visibility. Dabur, Coca-Cola, ITC, Parle among FMCG brands advertising in the 45-day spiritual fest as 40 crore likely to visit Prayag Raj. Less than 2 weeks into 2025, foreign investors withdraw over 22,000 crore rupees from Indian equities in a run-up to President-elect Donald Trump taking office. As market stays in correction mode, market cap of 5 of the top 10 most valued companies tumbles by 1.85 lakh crore rupees. Reliance Industries, HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank, SBI and ITC are hit hardest. Meanwhile, rupee slide continues. The INR is expected to breach 86 rupees against the greenback this week, a looming challenge for the new RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra. When better news, Apple, the iPhone maker, its exports from India surpass 1 lakh crore rupees, up 42% year-on-year in 2024. Increased local value addition add to the momentum. And staying with Apple, one of Apple's biggest Indian manufacturers, Foxconn, has paused the rotation of Chinese nationals to work in its Indian plants and is reportedly replacing them with Taiwanese nationals. Air India is retrofitting its aircraft fleet with premium seats in a bid to woo customers looking for a comfortable flying experience. Remember, this comes in the wake of a dwindling rupee against the dollar, which will add further stress to the operating cost of the airline. And days after India releases its advanced estimates of GDP growth, the IMF says India's economy is expected to be little weaker in 2025 amid global uncertainty, especially arising out of US tariffs. And tougher US sanctions on Russian oil loom. Will India and China bear the brunt? The once-in-12-year grand mega festival of the Kumbh has started today. It is said to be the largest public gathering anywhere in the world. A look at some numbers. 35 lakh people have already arrived at Prayag Raj. About 1 crore are expected to visit between today and tomorrow. And a total of 40 crore visitors are projected to take a dip in the holy waters over the next 45 days. Just for some perspective here, 40 crore is nearly 25% of India's population. So, 1 in every 4 Indians is expected to visit the Sangam over the next 1.5 months. The government, centre and state combined has reportedly invested over 12,600 crore rupees in making the Mahakumbh come alive, from tents and pontoon bridges to security apparatus and personnel. A 4,000-hectare area on the river banks where the Ganga and Yamuna meet the mythical Saraswati, the Sangam will turn into a mini India for the next 45 days. Meanwhile, brands from FMCG giants like Parle, Dabur, ITC, Coca-Cola to insurance players like Aditya Birla Sun Life and everything in between A whopping 3,600 crore rupees is estimated to be the value of advertisements. Remember, these are mostly outdoor ads to garner visibility to 40 crore people who would be at Prayag Raj. We have joining us today for a very special discussion, a very fascinating discussion on this Festival of India, Mr. Gopal Krishna Agarwal, National Spokesperson for BJP for Economic Affairs. Good morning, Mr. Agarwal. And we also have our correspondent joining us live from the Kumbh Mela, from the Mahakumbh itself, Yash Goyal. Mr. Agarwal, I'll come to you in just a bit. Let me first bring in my colleague Yash Goyal here. Yash, good morning. I see that there are about 35 lakh people reportedly at Mahakumbh. I don't see too many people behind you right now, but I do see some banners and some ad spots being taken up. Tell us, what is the mood at Prayag Raj this morning, and what are you making of this once in a 12-year festival?
Well, Karthik, absolutely electrifying atmosphere here at Kumbh in Prayag Raj. In fact, the hoardings you're talking about, you can see the companies have gone all out to advertise their brands over here. In fact, you can see Okaya over here. In fact, Campa has also advertised heavily over here. In fact, on the barricades too, you can see SBI. So multiple brands have placed themselves very well at the Kumbh Mela, because they very well know the kind of gathering which will be witnessed during the entire Kumbh is something unheard of, because the administration is expecting around 40 to 45 crore devotees to actually pay their visits at the Kumbh Mela. In fact, the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has also talked about the economic significance of this very event. The government has spent whopping near about 7,000 crore rupees in the arrangements of this very Kumbh Mela. And in fact, as per the Chief Minister, the economic benefits which will be reaped out of this event will be somewhere around 25,000 crores during the Kumbh Mela, and the overall impact of this could get to the tunes of 2 lakh crore rupees. So because the advertisers and the companies also know that the kind of eyeballs which are be attracted towards their brand over here will be huge. So that is why we see a lot of brands advertising over here. In fact, on this billboard I can show you, Muthoot has also put up their branding. So Karthik, this time it's not only a religious congregation, but also in the economic sense too. It's a very it's a momentous moment for the Uttar Pradesh government, because the kind of money which has been invested, the government is planning to take full benefit of it, and the local economy is also perhaps something which the government is looking to be completely benefited from.
Absolutely. Yash, stay with us. Let's bring in Mr. Agarwal now. Mr. Agarwal, thank you so much for taking out this morning. It's of course a momentous day. We have the Mahakumbh, once in a 12-year festival that goes live from today. Help us understand, to begin with, brand Kumbh in the context of brand India. What does brand Kumbh signify?
Karthik, I would like to wish everybody a happy Lodi and Makar Sankranti, and enjoy the Kumbh now, which is today started.
To you too, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. It's very important that you today are discussing this important event. Kumbh is not only purely religious, it's a social and the economic context also has been unleashed by the current Yogi government in Uttar Pradesh and the central government under Modi ji. It had always been a conglomeration of social, religious and economic activities. The amount of economic that will be generated is one part which is very important. In the last 2019, when earlier Kumbh was held, it was Ardh Kumbh, there the government invested around 4,000 crores, and the estimated outcome of economic transactions and activity was expected is to be around to the tune of almost 1.5 lakh to 2 lakh crores. And this time, when the government itself is spending 7,000 crore, it will generate a revenue for the government to the tune of 25,000 crores. The amount of jobs that it will be creating, the amount of tourism activity it will be created, the vendors, those who will get benefited out of it, is tremendous. The brand India that you, Vikram, have talked about is the global visitors who are coming to Kumbh Prayag Raj, it will last not only for 45 days, but it will last for several years, decades. That Prayagraj, Kumbh, India's brand, and India is known across the world for festivals. Earlier, the whole image was about the Kumbh, that it will be unhygienic, difficult arrangements. Now, this time, Yogi government has ensured that everything is in place. Hygiene, good toilets, roads, pontoon bridges, tent cities. I was just looking into one report. The transportation business from Delhi, NCR and other places to Prayagraj has increased more than 30-40% in the past few days. So the issue is not only about the religious importance of Kumbh. It is the economic activity it will generate, the brand it will create for India across the globe, the boost to the tourism industry, and the infrastructure that will go along with it. And
talk about the infrastructure, Mr. Agarwal, for just a bit, and also some of the numbers that you and my colleague Yash were both throwing. And of course, we've seen a lot more numbers in the papers. And 7,000 crore rupees or something is what the state government has invested. Another 5,000 crore rupees coming from the center. 12,000 crore rupees with an estimated return of about 25,000 crore rupees in revenue. Now, it seems pretty perfect mathematics that, you know, on an investment of 12,600 crore rupees, you have 25,000 crore rupees coming as revenue. So that's 100% over and above your estimates. But what I want to understand is how much of this infrastructure and how much of these investments which have been made in making the tent city or the pontoon bridges actually be permanent infrastructure. Because at some level, as a citizen, it also pains me to know that 45 days later, all of these pontoon bridges and the tents are all going to be gone. Does it make sense for the government to invest in long-term infrastructure?
No, Vikram, Karthik, we have to understand that there is no need for permanent infrastructure in this kind of festival.
Okay.
Because this 45 crore people which we are expecting in this 1.5 month will not be going to stay there everywhere, every time. They will go back. So the issue is how economic activity it will catalyze. India is known for its cultural content. It's civilizational content about culture, music, art, food, festival, dance, architecture. All this will be showcased in this 1.5 month. And then later on, the economic activity which this Kumbh will generate is important. The vendors who will get the earning from this, the transporters who will get earning from this, the manufacturers or the brand various companies which will brand their product and their services in this Kumbh. All 45 crore people will come and watch them. They will create a big brand, goodwill for them, and the goodwill which the country will get. All these are intangible benefits along with tangible benefits.
All right.
So permanent infrastructure of big bridges, roads nearby is fine, but the temporary arrangement is also important, because earlier Kumbh was considered to be places where different kind of accidents would happen. It is unsafe, etc. This whole image is now this time completely demolished by the efficient arrangement that have been made, the cleanliness, and it is we also have to understand the social impact of this Kumbh. Right. If 25% of our population coming together of all castes and all categories and geography, coming to these people from south, from northeast, from west, east, they will come, they will visit Mathura, Ayodhya, Lucknow, Kashi. All these places will also get a boost to the
Absolutely. It's going to be the entire circuit and not just the city of Prayag Raj. But talking about that massive number of 40 to 45 crore Indians, that is almost 25% of India's population. 1 in every 4 Indians are expected to visit the Kumbh. Let me bring in my colleague Yash Goyal back into the story now. Yash, 1 in every 4 Indians, and of course, you know, those horror stories of Bollywood that we grew up with, of brothers getting separated at the Kumbh Mela, that is something which is unlikely to happen this time around, because I heard you were speaking to the DIG at Prayag Raj and the kind of security arrangements which are underway. Talk us through what the government, what the police personnel, how they are deployed, and what is the kind of security and the CCTV monitoring which is happening in the control rooms to make sure that the Kumbh experience remains a safe one.
Well, Karthik, first to answer the question you asked about the stories of families being separated and reuniting after years. The Kumbh Mela. This time it's unlikely to happen because we've been seeing how the police and the other security forces have established multiple towers a few meters apart, in fact just 50 meters apart from each other. And what happens if someone gets separated, they can just go there and the announcements have been made. And in fact, since morning we've been hearing those announcements, but the situation has been very well taken care by the authorities over here in case if somebody gets separated from their family. Talking about the security arrangements, these are perhaps the largest security arrangements and one of the most well-oiled machinery which is working on the ground right now. In fact, as you mentioned, we spoke to DIG yesterday, and he has to say that the integrated communication center which has been established, that will monitor around 2,700 CCTV cameras which have been placed here in Prayag Raj, and in fact specifically in the 40-kilometer area of the Kumbh Mela. And in fact, this is a temporary district which has been created by the UP government in around 4,000 hectares of area, and these cameras are also AI enabled, so the imaging could be done if someone is lost. So very high tech this time around. The tech is being integrated in a very well sense by the government. The deployment of police is also in very large number, 40 to 50,000. Only the UP police personals are there on ground. Apart from that, home guard, paramilitary force, all are working in tandem to make sure that this entire arrangement is very smooth. 40 to 45 crore devotees are expected to visit Kumbh Mela. This is perhaps more than the half of Europe and perhaps more than the population of many continents in the world.
Massive numbers there. You're right, Yash. Let me bring in Mr. Agarwal again in the interest of time. Mr. Agarwal, massive numbers, massive tech infrastructure being deployed, 2,700 CCTV cameras. I was also reading there are QR codes for people to scan and navigate their way through the large area of 4,000 hectares which has now been developed. Talk us through the tech deployment and talk us through what are the innovations which we would be seeing for the first time at a scale of this kind anywhere in India.
I think the important question is that if a conglomeration of this size happens in a single place in a short duration of time, it is important that the risk is also properly analyzed. And that is the beauty of this Kumbh. When the Yogi Adityanath ji has declared this Kumbh as a digital Kumbh, he understands that there is a cyber threat also in looming large on this kind of conglomeration, and therefore there were horror stories earlier. So they have created all the arrangement with IIT, with CCTV, online analysis. Around 6 or 7 apps have been created to help the people understand where to go, where to find place to reside. Tent city, more than 1.5 lakh tents have been created. And online monitoring of crowd. The most important factor and the risk is about the monitoring of the crowd. Rumor mongering, the cyber threat, the social media people who can create havoc with the people's life and property there. They have been all clearly taken into consideration, and IIT Kanpur is taking care of all these arrangements. They will be monitoring all these CCTV cameras that you are saying, about 2,700 cameras, the crowd management, their movement, the online threats which come on from cyber attacks, create alert for the government when our rapid action force and police personnel have been hugely deployed.
Right.
So the cyber security risk has been taken care. Importance of this Kumbh is that when the risk is high, how prepared the government is to ward off that risk, and the IIT Kanpur is completely working on the cyber angle of it. The basic enabling environment has been created by the UP government.
Absolutely.
2 point I would like to say is,
sure,
the employment generation, Karthik, is huge tremendous work that will go from this. Almost the UP government is prepared training of the drivers to the hotel people to the food vendors. Everyone, individual training is being given to people to cater to the services that are required for this huge conglomeration, and that creates a skilling. India is lacking on many various skills development for the employment generation. The amount, it is estimated that it will create around 6 lakh jobs. It is mind-boggling. Anything you look into, it is the number is tremendous.
You're
the
right.
world is aghast at the way how, and nobody has organized particularly. Everybody is coming, invited anybody. Everybody is coming on his own initiative.
Right.
Government is creating an enabling environment, and the
Right,
social
Mr. Agarwal.
forgiveness is
Right.
also very
I mean, great numbers and really, mouth-watering numbers there in terms of the jobs being created and what is up there for the vendors and for the drivers. One only wishes that it also synchronizes with the larger macroeconomic data and these jobs over time also become permanent. But thank you so much. On that note, we will leave it there, Mr. Agarwal. Thank you, Yash Goyal, for joining us. And we will, of course, bring you rolling coverage of the Kumbh Mela, the Mahakumbh, all through the day and over the next few days right here on News 9 Live. But on the other side of the break, we will have Akshay Bhagwat joining us with his inputs on stocks that are making news today. You're watching Morning Brief at 9.
Bonjour, madam.
आज बड़े फ्रेंच बन रहे हो? हाँ?
याद है 10 साल पहले मैंने कहा था I will take you to Paris.
पेरिस नहीं, पेरी। तुम्हारा प्रोनाउंसिएशन भी ना तुम्हारे इरादे की तरह।
मैडम इरादे कभी ऑफ नहीं होते हैं, टेक ऑफ करते हैं।
SBI लाइफ स्मार्ट प्लैटिना सुप्रीम के गारंटीड रिटर्न से करो पूरे अपने इरादे, अपनों से किए सभी वादे। SBI लाइफ, अपने लिए, अपनों के लिए।
You dreamt of European engineering, of modern design, of craft that's comfortable. With the best-in-class maintenance cost, we made your dreams a reality. Behold, the Škoda Kailak.
Škoda. It's not the fiefdom of politicians. They owe it to the people. Matter is now more about faith of the millions of devotees than just political slugfest. Does that mean that I can't get a job in Chennai, although I may be best suited for that particular job? They have more civic sense, they have more of civility than all these men. My name is Sudha Sadanand. Welcome to the South Indian.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Brief at 9. The markets have opened just a few minutes back and it seems like a sea of red on Dalal Street this morning. Let's look at the Nifty heat map, which looks all red on the terminal this morning. Pretty much every sector from banking to IT to consumer durables to energy, mining, everything seems to be red this morning, and no great news, no green shoots emerging anywhere, barring just what I can see on the screen right now, just two companies, Axis Bank and IndusInd Bank, which happen to be in the green among the entire 50 stock index of the Nifty 50. Nifty, I've been told, is not even able to hold the 23,300 mark. It is well below that this morning. And of course, all this action comes amid foreign investors really exiting the Indian market, sitting on the sidelines and waiting for some action perhaps on the US policy front, both in terms of tariffs as well as the visa story. Well, as you see over there, more than 1% down for the mid-cap space. Mid-cap has been the hardest hit this morning, down about 1.4%, and Nifty 50 struggling to hold 23,250 levels this morning. Akshay Bhagwat joining us now. Akshay, the mood of the market looking really somber this Monday morning. What are the triggers? Why is this sell-off continuing?
Good morning. Well, the reasons, as I understand, for this sell-off mainly would be the rupee dollar. If you look at the rupee dollar, it's almost depreciated around the 86 levels. That's a key takeaway here. The foreign funds flow in the Indian markets have been weak in the last 3 to 4 months. Significant sell numbers there. That's not also supportive. And also there was some news about the virus scare a week back. And then also you had the Japanese yen carry trade doing round. So overall, the mood is weak. The data points in the derivative segment, if you look at the futures and options data, they are indicating short bets. So those are all the data points which are pretty negative. The only silver line is that how Nifty plays out today at the levels of 23,250, because these were the lows which were tested way back in November. And mind you, after that lows, we had a 1,500 point recovery. So this point has significance. Plus minus 100 points volatility from 23,250 is likely today in intraday. But at the end of the day, how 23,250 holds out would be the key if you're looking how the Nifty should go ahead from a short-term perspective from where it currently trades.
All right. You mentioned the sliding rupee. Of course, that sliding rupee is likely to slip all the way down to 86 rupees against the dollar this week, as per some reports coming in. And Akshay, that continues to be a big challenge for the new RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra, who's taken office. But talk to me also about the foreign investors who are sitting on the sidelines and really pulling out of the Indian markets. How much of that is bearing on the red markets that we see today?
Yes, that is the key driver here, because the last 3 months, the data has been significantly down. Even if you were to look at the data positioning in the index futures from the FIIs, the long short ratio is one indicator which we keenly watch. It is almost below the 18%, which means there are only around 17 to 18% longs in the system from the FIIs compared to the 80% plus short bet. So heavy short positioning there. Even if you look at the broader US economy there, with Mr. Donald Trump taking over office soon, the chances of a rate cut now, which the market was very keenly looking forward to, has a very low probability, and that is also one of the reasons because of which the foreign flows will be holding out rather before committing any bets in the Indian or the emerging markets. So US is a safe haven, and till the flows improve from the FIIs, do not expect any reversal in the Indian market soon.
All right, no reversal in the Indian markets expected. Well, what is ongoing right now is the Mahakumbh, and Akshay, let's talk some Mahakumbh stocks this morning. Just for the viewers who are just tuning in, the Mahakumbh Mela at Prayag Raj has become a massive marketing battleground for brands with an estimated ad spend of 3,600 crore rupees. Of this, 25% is expected to go towards outdoor advertising. We have big FMCG players like Dabur, ITC and Hindustan Unilever, which are betting heavily on the Kumbh to drive visibility to about 40 crore Indians who are expected to visit Prayag Raj over the next 45 days or so. Let's begin with these FMCG stocks. Dabur, is that something that is on your trading screen this morning, Akshay? And how do you see Dabur playing out, especially in the slowdown in consumption demand and the ad spends which are being made at Kumbh?
Well, this sector might see some bit of a traction on terms of the upside. If you look at the overall consumers and FMCG pack, this has been a beaten down sector in the market mayhem in the last couple of months. And last few trading sessions have seen some bit of a flows or inflows coming into this sectoral bet at the current market rates. So here, if you look at stock specific action, ITC was a bit choppy because of the demerger. But overall, if you look at the price setup on the technical front in Dabur, or you take it ITC or Marico, most of the setups here in the FMCG packs are hinting for a short-term pullback rally, and especially in the kind of choppy markets we are dealing in, these would be the best defensive bets where your money or the downside is pretty much cushioned. So it's more of a safe haven to play out in the current market scenario ahead of the budget and ahead of the Kumbh. So ideally I think small pullback rally is in the making in most of the names of the consumer durables or the FMCG pack.
Okay, so what are you expecting on Dabur? Because Dabur is down about 0.65% in trade this morning. Any specific price action call on Dabur?
Dabur is trading at a very key supports, and it is a support in the making. So yet there is no momentum still which is picking on in Dabur at the current market rates. So it will take some time. 510, 500 is the support zone. It has taken around 8-10 trading sessions around this area, and the momentum pickup will be once Dabur gets above the levels of 525. So right now there is no momentum. It is a support in the making. Probably if you're keen on the momentum stocks, HUL did see some pullback rally in the last 3 trading sessions. ITC is doing well lately. So if you are keen on the short-term trading perspective, I think ITC and HUL would be the names you can look forward to.
All right, ITC and HUL are on Akshay Bhagwat's radar. Not as much Dabur is the message coming in this morning. Let's move on to other shares and other stocks which are in news. Well, shares of Reliance Power and Reliance Infrastructure, both these happen to be in news today on account of Anil Ambani and his son, who have reportedly both decided to step down as promoters, seeking reclassification as public shareholders. Remember, this means that both Anil Ambani and Jai Anmol Ambani will hold less than 10% stock in Reliance Power and Reliance Infrastructure. What does this mean for investors, Akshay? How do you see Reliance Power and Reliance Infrastructure today?
See, at least on the price chart front, both the stocks are trading in a short-term negative zone. Even on a medium term, I do not see any major pickup, at least going by the price volume action right now. And with the news today, I think this is more of still selling pressure which can mount in these counters. So I believe it is better to stay away if you are keen on investment or your horizon is slightly over a couple of months. The stock setup is still weak, and we are clearly advising an avoid as of now in both the names.
Okay, and what does this really mean for investors who are, what does this news of the promoters stepping down and becoming public shareholders, for the sentiment, what does this really mean, Akshay?
See, sentimentally, I think on the lower end, it might find some bit of a demand, because till now this stock was somewhere has taken a beating because of the overall management, or the way the company has not been garnering traction or in the limelight, no news flow. But I think today immediate sentimental impact is negative, but on the lower end you might see some demand again picking up in the stock, probably 2-3% lower you might see demand kicking in again in both the names.
Right, demand picking in again in both the names is the word coming in. Let's move on to some other companies and some other stocks which are in news. Let's begin, Akshay, now with Avenue Supermart, which has reported a 4.8% year-on-year rise in net profits at 723.7 crore rupees, with revenue up 17.7% to 15,973 crore rupees. So what does this news of margins, which are dipping to 7.6% from 8.3% last year, mean for this company? Let's understand this again from Akshay, who's with us. Akshay, another news item is that Anshul Asava will take over as CEO designate on March 15th after the current MD Navil Narhunha will complete his term on Jan 31st this year. Avenue Supermart, the parent company of D-Mart, what does this stock look like for you today?
Well, stepping down of a key management personnel is a sentimental drawdown for the company in terms of the price action. That's a negative development if you are keen on the short term or an intraday trading front. And I believe there might be some pressure on the stock on this news for the short term. Even if you look at the price structure in the stock, time and again, this stock has seen a beating at the levels of around 3,750, 3,800, and positionally till these levels are broken about, because that is the key resistance areas from short to medium term perspective, the stock should be subdued. So overall, this stock should be a bit choppy. still negative overall, as I understand, looking at the broader price setup. And positionally, if you're looking from the investment horizon, still it makes sense to wait and watch. Supports to watch should be somewhere around 3,400. It's pretty far off from where we are right now. But from a risk reward payoff, ideally, I would like to go for a long bet in this stock only if I get it near the 3,400 zone.
All right, enter around the 3,400 levels and stay invested for the long term in Avenue Supermarts. That's the word coming in from Akshay Bhagwat this morning. Akshay, another stock which is in news is Waaree Energies, and that is acquiring a 100% stake in Enel Green Power India for 792 crore rupees. Enel Green Power is one of Europe's largest renewable energy companies. This acquisition will strengthen Waaree's presence in India's renewable energy market. Remember, Waaree Energy is a newly listed company already in its way to outshine as among India's largest green companies. Akshay, what is your view on Waaree Energies?
See, the energy theme, the green energy theme, renewable energies, these are the themes which many players are keen on from a long-term perspective. That is the new sector which is drawing a lot of attention, and this certainly makes a lot of sense to be invested in this upcoming or sector which has tremendous potential from the long term going ahead. So short term there will be some fluctuations. It is really not a stock where you buy and kind of play intraday or for a week or so, because the returns, the promise of making good money, huge returns, probably percentage wise gains should be if you hold a stock from a long term perspective, minimum 1 month plus investment horizon. So the levels of 26.15 where it currently trades, you can buy this, you can even average it out on a slight dip around 25.50 in case you get that opportunity, but certainly a stock to be in from a long term perspective is what my sense is.
Okay, long term perspective, but when I'm looking at the price chart, Akshay, I'm seeing a 2% increase in trade today. The stock is up by about 46 rupees or so, but over a 1 month horizon, the stock is down about 19%. Why do you see this volatility in a green energy stock like Waaree Energies, which otherwise one would expect to hold for the long term, like you mentioned?
Yeah. So definitely it's a long-term story, but if you look at the mood of the market, we are in a kind of a market where we are shifting from a bull market to a sideways or a consolidation market. So here there is a very strong hit which is being taken by other sectors, like you can say the power, the energy sectors, and because of this hit, it has forced or taken back most of the investors into its shell about a small question mark about the market per se. So it is more of a froth build-up which was evident ahead of the because it's a new listing. So there was a lot of froth which was built up. There was a lot of froth in the prices which we saw a couple of months back, and that froth has settled down today. So these are good levels I foresee in Waaree Energies. This theme is on. It is some plus minus 4-5% to 7% cannot be ruled out because still there is some froth in this stock, but I think it is good time to start considering this from the current level where it trades.
All right, this is the right time to consider Waaree Energies in your portfolio is what Akshay Bhagwat is saying. Let's move on, Akshay, now to HCL Tech, which will report its Q3 earnings today. In Q2, the company's revenues beating estimates, but net profit of 4,237 crore rupees fell short. On Friday, HCL Tech stock hit a lifetime high of 2,002 rupees, gaining over 3%. The stock has risen 25% in the last 1 year, outperforming Nifty and the Nifty IT indices. What do you make of HCL Technologies in anticipation of its results coming out today, Akshay?
So IT has been the sector which has kind of strongly held out in the markets in the last couple of months. TCS numbers, the reaction of the market was pretty good. There was a good recovery or a pullback in TCS, which we have seen from the last 4 or 5 trading sessions. And HCL Tech is almost at its lifetime highs ahead of the results. So with the market mood, even a slight, sentimental impact in the stock at the current levels can have some bit of volatility shake up in the stock. So at the all-time high levels ahead of the results, results, the risk reward certainly doesn't suit well from an investment, or if you kind of looking forward for a 1 week plus holding horizon. So I think it's better to let the results play out, let the dust settle. In case the stock run ups, really you have to kind of wait it out. But in case you get a dip in the stock, then you can consider it buying again. Supports which I see in case of a dip in the stock should be around 1920 to 1940 zone. It's highly overbought on the technical charts, very strong, but does make sense from a risk reward payoff to wait for the results to be done and accordingly then take a trade depending on the mood of the stock.
All right, wait for the mood of the stock. Well, look at the heat map now and look at the numbers coming in from the markets. Nifty has fallen below the 2200 mark this morning. Akshay, do you feel this is going to be a dark trading session, a red trading session, and the Nifty is going to continue to slide even more because the resistance of 2200 has also now been broken? What do you make of the markets now looking at data coming in?
Look, if you're an intraday trader, you have to be with the flow of the market. Supports have been breached as of now. Data points are weak. And being intraday means it's clearly a short sell with a possible target of 23,000 as things stand right now. But, key price points are where the market reverses. So you need to have your stops clearly defined. So if you're shorting the market at the current level, because the data points are negative, a support has been breached, 23,290, that's your support. So 250 is the support, 23,290 is the stop loss which you place. And by chance in the second half of the day, the market were to reclaim 23,250 back and get about 23,300, that's the first point that the market is showing some bout of short covering. So right now it is too early to say what will happen in the second half. You have to be with the flow. Supports are being breached, so continue to be with the flow of the market. It is a short as it stands right now, but if you are an end of the day kind of a trader taking a view on the market for a week, today's close by 3:30 would be the important point, whether it sustains 23,250 or not. If it doesn't sustain, expect levels of 22,900 on the downside very soon.
All right, 23,250 or 22,900. These are the levels to watch for. Let's move on now to other stocks in news. Akshay, Gautam Adani announced a 65,000 crore rupee investment in Chhattisgarh's energy and cement sectors. This includes 60,000 crore rupees for power plant expansions in Raipur, Korba and Raigad, boosting the state's power generation capacity by 6,120 megawatts. Additionally, 5,000 crore rupees will be invested in the cement plant development. What do you make this morning of Adani Enterprises?
Well, see, with the mood of the market today, the stock is kind of choppy, and I think with the investment also really, with the kind of the market mood with which we have opened, it is bearing on most of the stocks in the market. So Adani Enterprise, that is the reason it is down by around 2% and overall the setup is also negative because of the kind of news which this stock is always in. Investors are kind of shy to go aggressively full on and in this particular counter. So for intraday, I think there is going to be weakness. Short to medium term, it is going to be choppy. So I believe let the dust settle. The support zones you can watch forward to is 2275 on the downside. That's a short term trading support. And we would recommend to buy the stock only on strength above the levels of 2375. That's the minimum criteria. At least the stock should show some kind of a pullback before you start committing longs from a short term trading perspective.
All right, and let's move on to another Adani Group company, and this one is Adani Wilmar, promoter of Adani Commodities, plans to sell up to 15.1% stake via an offer for sale or OFS with an option to oversubscribe for an additional 1.51%. This could bring the deal offer size to 19.5 crore shares. Is Adani Wilmar also something that you're looking out for in trade today, Akshay?
Adani Wilmar 2 is going to trade negatively. In fact, if I were to make a choice between the Adani Group stocks, between Adani Ports or Enterprise and Wilmar, I think Adani Ports ranks the first. Second would be Adani Enterprise. This is completely based on price readings on the short to medium term charts, and the rest of the stocks would fall after these names. So Adani Wilmar, overall the price structure is also weak. Short term also is weak, and I think with the OFS price fixed at 275, there is more of a corporate event. So maybe the fall will be checked because of this particular factor. But somewhere 260, 280 is where the stock should kind of consolidate from short to medium term because of the OFS price being fixed at 275. But really, still there is no reason for me, based on price reading, to go all in, all out on buying this stock. So suggest wait and watch and do not commit at the current rates. Fundamentally, things might be different, for which you need to have kind of an advice from your advisor, fundamental advisor. But technically, I see no reasons to buy the stock as yet.
Reason to buy the stock, and over a 5-day period the stock is down about 16.6%, and in today's trade also the stock is trading about 7% down. Well, we leave it at that. Akshay Bhagwat, thank you so much for joining us on this Monday morning when the markets are down about 1%, and of course there's a lot of news on possible triggers which could now come underway and give the market a much needed respite, especially international triggers coming from Donald Trump becoming the 47th president of the United States. And of course, that is going to have a bearing not just on the macroeconomics when it comes to the tariff policy under the Trump administration, but also the strength of the US dollar and the dollar index, which will define the fate of the Indian rupee going forward. But moving on to another story now, and this comes by way of iPhone maker Apple. Apple has touched a new milestone in India. It breached the 1 lakh crore rupee mark for iPhone exports from India in 2024, with its outward shipments touching a record $12.8 billion or 1.08 lakh crore rupees, up 42% year on year as per industry estimates. The latest turning point comes on the back of increased local value addition, which has reached 15 to 20%, and domestic production surging nearly 46% from a year ago to $17.5 billion or 1.48 lakh crore rupees as per preliminary estimates for January to December of last year. Now, if this momentum is to sustain, Apple is on track to achieve its $30 billion annual production target in the next few years, lifting India's share in iPhone production ecosystem to 26% from currently under 15% at just about 14% or so. Now, along with the record production and export numbers, Apple has achieved local value addition of up to a fifth for various models as the company continues to expand its supplier base in the country. At the start of the PLI scheme, the local value addition for the US giant was only 5 to 8%. Well, staying with Apple and one of Apple's manufacturers in India, Taiwanese electronics manufacturing giant Foxconn has paused new work rotations for its Chinese employees at Apple iPhone factories in India, instead deploying Taiwanese workers as per a media report. Chinese workers currently stationed at India plants are being recalled, signaling potential new economic tensions between China and India. The report further noted that shipments of specialized manufacturing equipment for India have also been held up in China. The disruptions could impact iPhone assembly lines at Foxconn's factories in Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, which collectively employ around 50,000 workers. If reports are true and the halt is sustained, it may hinder Apple's broader ambition to develop next-generation iPhones in India with its manufacturer Foxconn. And before we head into a break, a quick look at the top global stories making headlines today. The number of people dead in the Los Angeles blaze has now been reported at 16 as the wildfire continues to burn for the 6th consecutive day. Officials warn death toll could rise even higher. "72 firefighters land in LA from Mexico to assist in rescue and relief operations." Meanwhile, oil hits a 4-month high after new set of sweeping US sanctions hit Russia. Japanese and US troops conduct the first paratrooper exercise of 2025, showcasing unity and preparedness. Steady world growth in 2025 and continuing disinflation. That's the word from the International Monetary Fund, which also says that India could show a little weakness in its growth. Israeli protesters clashed with police in an anti-war protest in Tel Aviv. Scuttle follows peaceful demonstration against Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu's government. 6 dead and 8 injured after a gas explosion causes fire at a Czech restaurant. And thousands protest as Romania's presidential elections are cancelled.
I will take you to Paris.
Paris नहीं, Paris. तुम्हारा pronunciation भी ना, तुम्हारे इरादे की तक.
मैडम इरादे कभी ऑफ नहीं होते, टेक ऑफ करते हैं.
SBI Life Smart Platina Supreme के गारंटीड रिटर्न से करो पूरे अपने इरादे, अपनों से किए सभी वादे. SBI Life, अपने लिए, अपनों के लिए.
Valuations can be frothy. Going public is almost like what some of us would like to say is the holy grail, right? IPOs are a trend, not a bubble.
Do secondary markets exist? Answer is absolutely yes, and it's been around for a very long time.
Valuations could be high or low, and valuations may correct over time, but IPOs are here to stay. It is basically a graduation ceremony of sorts. It is potentially where a startup stops being a startup and starts becoming an enterprise.
The IPO space has just started in the past 24 months. The startup ecosystem has been around for 15 years.
Fundamentally, if you have a strong business and you have predictability of cash flows and you can actually give with a fair degree of confidence where the business is headed, the market will reward you.
This and more. Streaming on News 9 Plus. Subscribe and get free vouchers.
Welcome back. You're watching Morning Brief at 9. The death toll has risen to 16. That's right, 16 are dead in the Los Angeles blaze as the wildfire continues to burn for the 6th consecutive days. Well, that is the latest number that we have. Wildfires continue to burn around LA County as fire crews and aircraft tried to contain the spread of 6 simultaneous fires. Aerial footage showed spots of wildfires peppered across Topanga State Park at the Palisades fire spread over an additional 1,000 acres, which is about 400 hectares in the past 24 hours, consuming more homes, officials reported. The blaze has damaged or destroyed 12,000 structures, fire officials said. At least 13 people are estimated to be missing. Over a lakh residents are still under evacuation orders, and at least 16 people, as I told you, have died, according to officials. The death toll is expected to rise after firefighters are able to conduct house searches continue. The death toll is expected to mount when firefighters are finally going to be able to conduct house-to-house searches. Meanwhile, the US Treasury has imposed new sanctions on Russian oil producers as well as 183 vessels that have shipped Russian oil. This as you know, is called the shadow fleet of Russia that operates in the region to avoid sanctions. Many of the tankers have been used to ship oil to India as well as China, as Western sanctions and a price cap imposed by the G7 or the group of 7 nations in 2022 shifted trade in Russian oil from Europe to Asia. Russia's oil exports are expected to be hurt severely, which will force Chinese refiners to cut output going forward. Among the newly, sanctioned ships, 143 are oil tankers that handled more than 530 million barrels of Russian crude last year, about 42% of the country's total seaborne crude exports. Meanwhile, oil has jumped to a 4-month high after the news of these sweeping sanctions. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, has forecast steady global growth and continuing disinflation when it released an updated World Economic Outlook on Jan 17th. Remember, that is the report which is likely to be released end of this month. IMF Managing Director Christina Georgieva held a press conference on late Friday night with this announcement. The IMF chief has said that the US economy was doing quite a bit better than expected, although she also said that India could see slight weakness in its growth in the year 2025. And as we come to a close of Morning Brief at 9, we leave you with this story on the 97th Oscar nominations, which are delayed now to January 19th due to Southern California wildfires, which have killed more than 16 people and displaced many. It impacted stars like Ben Affleck, and Priyanka Chopra Jones also posted a shout out for those helping in the moment of distress. More on this from our reporter Sakshi Lirotia.
The announcement of the 97th Academy Awards nomination, initially scheduled for January 17th, has now been delayed to January 19th due to the devastating wildfires ravaging Southern California. In an email to the members, Academy CEO Bill Kramer expressed condolences for those affected, particularly the members and colleagues living in Los Angeles. As a result, the Oscar nomination voting deadline has now been extended by 2 days to January 14th. Initially, it was January 12th. Now, the wildfires which erupted in the Hollywood Hills have caused widespread destruction, killing 5 people, injuring many and forcing 100,000 residents to evacuate from their houses. Iconic neighborhoods like Pacific Palisades, home to many Hollywood stars, have been severely impacted because of these wildfires. Celebrities including Ben Affleck, Mandy Moore, Paris Hilton and James Woods were among those who were forced to evacuate their homes. Moore, in fact, shared a heartbreak on social media, expressing gratitude for her family's safety, but also mourning the loss of her home and community. Amid this crisis, several events have been rescheduled, including the Critics' Choice Awards, now set for January 26th. While the Oscars nomination announcement is delayed, the focus is on the safety and recovery of those affected by these fires, with celebrities like Priyanka Chopra Jonas also praising the bravery of first responders.
If it's a cancer, then what?
It's very distressing